Commissioner Reddick, thank you for agreeing to testify on 2020 tax filing season and the IRS's handling of challenges that posed because of the pandemic. 2020 filing season got off to its typical start at the end of January. However, since then, this filing season has been anything but typical as a result of the national health emergency stemming from the ongoing pandemic. Almost all regular tax filing and tax payment deadlines have been extended. This includes the individual and corporate income tax filings and payment deadlines, which were pushed back from the normal April 15th to July 15th, and there's some rumors they might be extended again. I don't know. I've heard that at least once. Despite these extended deadlines, the tax filing season continued, with many taxpayers still filing their taxes as usual to get their tax refund. At the same time, consistent with government shutdown orders and CDC guidance, the IRS limited much of its work to essential services, closed a number of facilities, and instituted telework policies where practical. This left the IRS short-staffed during the busiest time of the year. Understandably, that meant taxpayers experienced longer wait times to get their tax questions answered. It meant more calls than usual went unanswered, and mail, including paper returns, went unprocessed. Over the last couple of weeks, the IRS has begun to reopen facilities and start back to normal operations. So, Commissioner, I will be interested to learn more from you on how the reopening is proceeding and what actions are being taken to clear the backlog of taxpayer correspondence. While the IRS has worked to keep up with the filing season duties, it also has been tasked with implementing a number of tax measures enacted by Congress to provide relief for individuals and businesses. IRS and Treasury have worked nonstop to put out necessary guidance to taxpayers, navigate important provisions designed to help families make ends meet, and provide businesses with needed liquidity to keep the lights on and the employees on the payroll. But even more daunting was the implementation of the rebates for individuals, often referred to as economic impact payments. IRS and Treasury worked in unprecedented speed to get the payments out the door and to hand the individuals and families forced to stay home due to the pandemic. Over about a 2-month span, nearly 160 million stimulus payments totaling almost $267 billion were delivered by direct deposit, check, or prepaid debit card. The IRS took steps to get payments to as many eligible individuals as possible. This included working with the Social Security Administration, Department of Veterans Affairs, to get payments for seniors, veterans, and individuals receiving certain federal benefits, those same people having no need to file a tax return. For others who typically do not file a tax return, the IRS established an online tool to register for the payments. Over 6 million individuals and families took advantage of that tool. Commissioner Reddick, you ought to be thanked, and I do thank you and your staff for working around the clock to get this much needed assistance in the hands of taxpayers during difficult times that was no fault of their own, because for the first time in 244 years, our government took the step of actually shutting down the economy and a lot of people being unemployed, and that help badly needed. When you consider all this, I would say the IRS performed exceptionally well under the circumstances. Of course, when you're tasked with processing 160 million payments in expedited fashion, there are bound to be some hiccups. But there will always be Monday morning quarterbacks eager to criticize, even though we all know they couldn't have done it any better. I'm interested in getting your perspective on how the process has worked, what the IRS has learned, and what improvements could be made should this or a future Congress once again task the IRS with administering stimulus payments. Beyond the current filing season, the challenges posed by the pandemic, the IRS has been working to implement the Taxpayers First Act, which was enacted last year to modernize the IRS and beef up taxpayer protections. The Taxpayers First Act calls for the IRS to institute comprehensive customer service strategy, modernize its organization structure, and implement an information technology strategy. I look forward to hearing how the IRS has proceeded with those reforms. We thank you once again. Now I turn to Senator Wyden.